Well, hey everybody, I'm Jan Erickson from Stepping Aside, and welcome to Somewhat Daily Tarot and Rune for Monday, the 16th day of November, 2020. Okay, so I had to reboot my computer because this froze about 18 minutes in. So I have everything out here, and I think it's a pretty interesting reading, especially when you consider the weekly bind rune. If you want to check that out, that's over on the blog. I'll show that to you when I talk about the runes for today, and realistically, it does tend to align well with the cards as well. Um, New subscriber today, welcome. I don't name names because I feel like that's kind of private. So for people, I wouldn't want my name. I don't know. I thought to myself, well, because other channels do that, and so I decided a long time ago I wouldn't like name the names of the new subscribers, but just say thank you for subscribing. You know who you are. Anyway. I just like to, I don't know. I think that social media makes things, I don't know. I think that there's so much transparency, if you want to call it that, between people now that the sense of privacy's gone. And so, wherever we can maintain it, I think we should. But anyway, that's just my idea, my opinion. Anyhow, because I've already started this and I'm not going to do it again, I like the reading. I was just about to take a fourth card, and we'll decide after talking about it again if we really need to do that. But today's rune is Rado. And let's see, what did I do with that? Okay, it's over there. And I had already drawn it out here when I talked about it. It's a pretty complex rune. It's integration with others. It's the soul journey. It contains a lot of different stuff. It contains Kenaz several times, the light of spirit. It also contains Isa, or alignment. In spirit, it contains Laguz, flow from spirit, and Vunyo, which is fellowship with others. And that's kind of the idea about integrative motion. When you're dealing with Vunyo, it's fellowship, and so that implies that. And then amazingly, the geomancy rune was conjunctio, or joining together. So we have a real emphasis, and realistically, what I said when I did this before. Here's the rune for the week, the bind rune for the week. And it's comprised of Othala, Gebo, Inguz, and Dagaz. And if you know runes, you see them, or if you've paid attention at all here, because we tend to kind of take apart the runes like we did here with Rado. We can take it apart and see what runes can you see in it. A lot of these runes are bind runes in and of themselves, and so I like to look at all the different components of them. And here, you're talking, Othala contains Ingos on the top, Gebo on the bottom, and all I did was I drew two lines and created Dagaz there. And what I titled, but here's the thing. Here's what I titled the piece, all right? And you can find it on the blog. It's one of the ones. I have a couple of ones that are sticky, but just scroll down and you'll see them, the rest of the new ones. But basically, I called it, remembering who we are to each other. It's a bind rune to help us do that. We have the bigger group of people in the country, I think anyway, it seems that way, the larger number of people who want to get on with things. You've got this other group that wants to mirror in violent form the I won the election tweets that are coming, like, I don't know, man, are they coming hourly now? For yesterday, they were all in caps. Today, the one I saw that was posted a couple hours ago was just regular, not all in caps. So it's like, no, babe, you didn't. But again, we have to figure out what that's about, right? And is it just trying to create an insanity defense for the cases that are coming after him when he leaves? But make no mistake about it, someone else won this election and he doesn't want to see it. So and what you have here is a group of people who want to bolster that and support that and reinforce that, right? And some of them at least wish to do it in a violent way. We saw that in the DC thing that happened this weekend. I read 3 people got stabbed. So it's like, come on, we can't do this. We're on a soul journey together, for Pete's sake. But anyway, it's going to include all things, right? Including that. And we learn from it. We learn that that's not something that's going to preserve our collective tradition, right? And that's where Athala comes into this. And I was just, when I did all this earlier, it's like, oh my God. And I pulled out the bind rune. I mean, I was going to tell everybody about it anyway, to send you over to the blog to read about it and to use it if you want to, not for commercial use or anything, but for personal use. You want to wood burn one, or you want to draw it out on a piece of paper, carry it with you during the week to remind you that we're in this together. Then, on this new journey forward we're taking together, then do that. And that's what it's there for. Anyhow, and to get people acquainted with rune magic. But so I had that, and so then I drew, and I'll tell you the order I did it in. I first drew the Knight of Swords. Swift action. Swords is the air element, and so anything to do with justice, reason, balance, intellect, mind, communication, all of that. And then I drew the Ten of Cups. So that's the water element, emotions, compassion, intuition, empathy, just grace, if you will. And here you see a family possibly either looking back at all they've created together so far, or they're ready to take that leap because there is a line of demarcation right there. It could be they're getting ready to move into their new home. But after everything that's happened, now something new is happening for them with the 10. 10 is kind of, it's similar to Degas without the terminating ends on it, right? Or like Gebo even, balanced energy exchange. But there's a sense of endings and beginnings with it, like you have with Degas. And I think that, let's see, this is Degas here. That's the rune for this coming Saturday in the Esoteric Influences, which is also up on the blog, both in post form and video form. So if you want to check that out, if you haven't, I welcome you to do that. But basically, you're talking endings and beginnings when you look at the 10. I usually reduce it to 1, so that's new beginnings. But there's that element of passage, of transition with it, right? And so for me, it just seems like, this is something that they've gotten to the point where they can move into a new home, which would be their new family home. Again, tradition and shared journey and all of that good stuff, right? But then I pulled the Page of Swords. And, every time I see this one, he's looking over his shoulder. Pages are usually considered students or undeveloped potential. I liken the page to the 1, or the ace rather, and also to the Fool, because you have undeveloped potential with each thing. And the Fool begins the major arcana in the tarot. The ace begins each suit, okay? And then the court is this separate outlier that really, I don't know. It's kind of like an overall manifestation of the small cards. But anyway, you've got them in terms of life, sections of life, so different ages. It's like in numerology when you look at, I forget what it's called, but you're looking at 3 different transitions in your life, sometimes 4. And that's really what I think that the court really symbolizes, is the transitions we take from page, which is youth, to knight, which is a little bit older than that. They've finished school. They're now out making their way, trying to figure that out, either on behalf of self or others. And then you get the king and the queen, where the queen has to basically keep the king in line. But the bottom line is those are the older ones in authority, both masculine and feminine. And so whether you're looking at them in terms of individuals or the message behind it, the qualities that they have, that you get kind of a multi-layered experience with the court. And even though I know when I first started doing tarot, it's like, oh God, the court, I don't really look at it that way anymore. It's just like there's a lot of information there and a lot of different ways it can go. And so what I did is I moved the page to the beginning. I then have the knight, and then I have the 10. So, and you can do that. You can always move your cards around, even in established spreads. If you don't like what it looks like, if it's not making sense, move them around. Make it make it's a story. Okay. And if you think of it in terms of, say, of a flash of insight, the way I get them, I get it all at once. And so maybe not in terms of a linear fashion, in other words. So everything happens at once. And so then you got to go back and go, okay, I saw that, I saw that, I saw that. You got to put it together in some kind of perspective. What came first? What influenced that to happen? And generally speaking, and I think that it's the same attitude a lot of tarot readers have. Just move your cards around and make them make sense to you. So that's what I did. And so we're going to start with the Page of Swords on this journey we take together this morning. And we see some billowy clouds, but they're kind of brownish. A little bit of white in the inside there, but not much. You got a whole bunch of birds at the top. It almost looks like, though, that the ground is moving under his feet. So he's trying to go forward into the future, right? With something. Because he's leaning that way, but he's looking over his shoulder like something's going on behind the scenes, maybe. And I think that's indicative of the brownish clouds. So there's still some deception going on. Now, whether again that's what we're all dealing with together, or whether it's something that's happening in your personal life, if you feel like there's something today that's just not quite right and you need to look into it, do so before going any further. And then if something needs to be taken care of because it's happening, it's likely something that's going to need direct action. Okay? Because the knight's going to go back and take a look at what's going on here. What's that guy looking at? Well, now apparently something's happened that they know, and it's been discovered. And although you see some purity coming in, that's because of him. It's like, here's your sword of truth, sword of integrity, sword of reason, sword of justice, that you're going to have to take. In other words, if you see something is happening that's affecting your, overall happiness, you're going to have to deal with it today. Directly. Swiftly. Because now the billowy clouds have become sketchy and fully brown. Okay? So you figured it out. Here you're not so sure, but it's like deception is starting to come around you as you're trying to move forward into some new undeveloped experience, right? Some new opportunity. Maybe you're starting a new job, but maybe there's somebody there that's not happy. Maybe they wanted your position. So maybe there's something going on in that regard, but something's happening behind the scenes. Either you've forgotten to do something, or something, but swift action is going to be needed today, or direct action is going to be needed today to deal with all of it, so that your happiness and fulfillment is preserved. And whatever's going on here, if this is indeed the family, and if the demarcation is so black, it's very dark, very, usually it's like if you look really close, it's like a double line. But this is filled in, so there's definitely, this is now, and this is and then back here is the future. But, their happiness is at stake. Their fulfillment is at stake. So in order to preserve that, you could maybe even put that in the beginning, but I don't think so. I don't like it there. I want it to be at the end. I really think that this is a situation where we're trying to come together in some kind of unified shared direction of some kind, and something has taken place. Now there could be a legal issue associated with moving into a new home. Maybe the contracts are not, there's something about the contract that isn't right, and maybe they're trying to pull a fast one on you or something like that, or maybe it was something you just didn't realize. And so that could have something to do with that as well. Swords is also about legal issues, contracts, things like that. But you see, that's communication, right? That's the air element. Contracts communicate the intention of that exchange, basically, that everybody signs off on. So maybe something wasn't signed off on, or something wasn't communicated, and you need to understand before you move into that new house, right? It could be something as simple as that. Well, I wouldn't say that's simple, but still, instead of the collective, stuff that we're dealing with here. But if this is more collective, then there's still stuff going on behind the scenes to try to usurp power and control and authority over the legal election we had, and the vote count that is, he didn't win. I don't know. So now we're going to have to take a stock of what he's done, and all of I read a thing where Michael Beschloss, he's a historian, presidential historian. He said that, and he posted something about a cartoon that was in the newspaper at the time when Nixon was resigning. They burned some things. They burned documents in the White House, in the West Wing, and then they also, I guess, Ford's team stopped a massive amount from being taken onto the plane to go home with Nixon. So, in other words, he wanted to cloud the issue of the nonsense he was doing, the crimes he was committing, and why he had to resign, okay, in disgrace over all of it. But there you had a Republican. You had Republicans who came to him and said, "Dude, it's over." They were behind him until they impeached him, right? Until they were going to impeach him, and it was like, "Oh no, it can't be him, not him. He didn't do any of that." Until the evidence was out, the hearings happened, and no one could look away any longer. Well, now we have a group of senators and Republicans, both in the House and Senate, that are more than happy to look away, giving everybody the impression that they're part of the scam, basically, right? That's the downside of what they've done to themselves. They've skewered themselves here, basically, right? So, and you have to remember that if this is something that you're dealing with, people that want to deceive you, if whatever this is dealing with is about deception, or it's just something that you didn't notice or something, today's a 7 energy day, so you're going to have to take a step back and take a look at that, right? The other thing from the esoteric influences with the 7, again, it's where you take a step back and you let the scales settle. You let everything come to a rest so you can truly see what's going on, right? Let everybody get into their own motion. And that way you can see what they're doing. You can watch for patterns, and you can see what they're doing to try to ascertain, if you're not intuitive enough to do it, or empathic enough to understand the emotion behind it, then you're going to have to really look for patterns today to see what's going on behind the scenes that you then need to go deal with directly. Okay? But basically, the moon's in Sagittarius right now. Let's see, single-minded approach. I kind of look at this as the Knights are Sagittarians, especially, this one. Although Sagittarian is a fire element, so realistically it's probably more the Wands, the Knight of Wands, that's more Sagittarian. But, Sagittarians are also about truth. And so, the Sagittarian moon is going to come in and deal directly with something. But again, you've got to understand the patterns of what's going on so you know for sure. But one thing I wanted to say here in the last section of the esoteric influences for today in the human design chart, it's also reinforcing the notion that deception is still undermining a unified direction forward. So, deception, Rado, okay, we're talking that. And only an honest approach is going to transcend negative forces, which we're going to get with the Knight. That's the thing about the swords. Knights are filled with integrity anyway, but particularly the ones with swords, or the wands, or the ones with the wands. Either one of those two, they're going to be very direct. It's very projective oriented in that regard. Whereas the earth element and the water element are receptive. Air and fire are projective, and so we're really talking about direct action here, so that you can be, safe and secure and happy and fulfilled. So that's kind of the energy behind here, and I thought that it was so interesting. Tomorrow's Israel Regardie's birthday. He was born in 1907. Interesting guy. He talks about, I think he also talks about geomancy, but he talks about the tarot. He was a hermeticist and all of that. Anyway, I think he passed. I'm pretty sure he passed. But anyway, yeah, with 1907 he would have. So anyway, sorry about that. It came up on my iPad. If you heard the ding, that was getting a notification. Oh, also the Leonids meteor showers. Also, I got that notification. That's tomorrow too. Must be peaking tomorrow. Um, but the idea here is we're to keep emotions in check and watch for the right moment to express your voice, avoiding the need to win the debate at all costs. But know that principled beliefs will carry you forward irrespective of any confusion that exists now. And again, it's going back and dealing with something directly to make that happen so that you can find happiness and fulfillment today. So again, whether this is the stuff we're sitting back watching, because everyone is going to have to be basically, self-isolating again. So here's the thing: if people can't get it in there under their in get with the program here and wear a mask, we're going to be dealing with this forever. There whatever this virus is, it's not like a normal coronavirus. In some respects, I'm sure it has some similarities, or they wouldn't be calling it a coronavirus. But what it's doing to the body is so damaging, and it doesn't necessarily happen in while you have it. Well, it's happening while you have it, but you don't know it. You seem to get over it, and then all of a sudden these things start happening, vascular wise, heart wise, cardiac wise, whatever you want to call it. And people are having issues that are serious, really, and debilitating. I read Arnie Duncan did a tweet. I think he was Obama's Secretary of Education, maybe. I don't remember, but anyway, he did a tweet where his family has a mild case of it. They did everything they could do, but something happened, and whole family's got it. And he's saying it's a mild case. He says, but frankly, folks, it's flattened us, all of us. So if a mild case can do that to you, what does a more serious case do? Well, we know. And so they're recommending now and insisting, really. I know Oregon is insisting again, our governor is, that we don't gather together over the holidays. There's a 2-week freeze on. I think Multnomah County's got a 4-week freeze on things. To try to stop what's happening, because it's really spiking up in our state. And we, have had a relatively mild impact on people here. We just haven't had as many cases as bigger areas have had, or we just haven't. But that's changing now. Here in my area, I live in Central Oregon, and same thing here. Things are getting, and we don't have the bed space. We have it, I think, right now, maybe. I read that we have enough equipment, ventilators and whatnot right now. But once the rooms are gone, if they can't, they'll have to do other kinds of things to where they'll have to convert other areas of the hospital, is what they're going to have to do to deal with COVID patients. And so we've been, but it's on the rise here. And we were at the store last night. We went late. And we saw a guy and his wife. She had a mask on. He had nothing. We get up to check out, and there's 2 check stands open. We're in one. We turn around to leave. He's in the other at the end where people normally bag their groceries. We only had the choice of walking by him, so we gave him a wide berth. But my God, he had nothing on. I mean, why can't, and the stores, they won't do anything. They'll put up a sign, but that's all they do. They don't protect anyone, and they don't demand that of their patrons. Now, I think come Wednesday the new rules are going to take effect, and I think it's Wednesday. But if they're not already, but I thought the checker last night indicated that things were changing on Wednesday, so that must be when the rules go into effect, the new ones. And so, we have to do this. We have to cooperate. We have to be on the same page with this. So if you had plans to get together over the holidays, cancel them. Don't do anything that's going to get anybody in your life ill, or you ill, from going to something like that, because that seems to be where these big spikes start occurring out of these little home gatherings. Not only the super spreader events, which are obvious, but when there aren't any of those in your area and you have a spike, it's because people have gotten together in these little groups having barbecues over the summer. Or see, because it doesn't matter if you're inside or out. I mean, people think, oh, we'll just socially distance and we don't have to wear anything if we're outside. Wrong. You're still breathing. If there's wind at all, I mean, my God, It's like we've told ourselves Likely because the guy that's currently still in the presidency has been stupid about this. We've told ourselves we can do that. We can just wear a face shield with no mask, or some goofy contraption, with a strap and a little piece of plastic right over your face, right here over your mouth and nose, which is stupid. We've told ourselves we can do that. Well, we can't. Never could. And that's why we're having to not be with our family. I haven't seen my children in over a year. I have a grandson I haven't met. So you think I'm happy about doing what I've been doing? We've been doing it since February 2nd. We saw the handwriting on the wall when we were watching the news. And irrespective of what the lunatic in the White House says, we knew better. So we started, doing our shopping every 2 weeks. We were wearing masks. I started making masks when I got a pattern. I ordered some. They finally came. It took a while, but they came. So we got prepared. We started hunkering down. We didn't leave the property. We didn't get around anybody. So, if we can do it, so can everyone else. It's that simple. We can go out and about and have a life. Businesses can open if we all wear masks. There may be some, it's just too close quarters though, and they can't. So if they can't figure out a way to do it differently, the business is going to like doing takeout or whatever, then I guess I don't know what happens there. The government needs to step in and support that business until life gets back to normal, which would have happened far sooner had we all just agreed to do this. The rest of the world's looking at us like, what's wrong with you people? Why do you see this way? That it's your personal sovereignty at stake? No, it's life. This is not a hoax, folks. Never was. He lied. From the moment he stepped out to talk about this, he's lied. Please understand this. Our lives are at stake. Please don't go around your family this holiday. Stay home. Talk to them on the phone. Do a Zoom thing. Whatever you got to do. Remember, some of us, we haven't seen our family in a very long time. Our kids don't live near us. So to have a grandchild born and I don't know that child yet, I haven't held that baby. I held his sister. She was 11 hours old. I wasn't able to do that with him. So please, for the sake of everyone, wear a mask properly over the nose. Okay? If you do have to go out, limit it. Buy more when you get there so you don't have to go back for a while. And if you could do curbside pickup, which I don't know, I feel funny about having someone doing my shopping for me, but if you have to do that, do it. So many people have compromised immune systems, and made possible by the foods we eat, basically. And we need everybody. We need everybody to survive this. So please, stay home if you can. Wear a mask if you're out. You want to put a face shield over the mask, fine. That's even better. But otherwise, at least have a mask on properly. And stay safe and keep others safe in the process. So anyhow, I guess that's it. Again, pay attention today. There's something happening over your shoulder you got to pay attention to. Let it all settle out so that you can see it and then take direct action to deal with it, to preserve your happiness today. So anyway, thanks for watching. Sorry for the rant. Well, not really. Sorry, not sorry. Because this is important now, okay? We're coming into the worst part of it. And what's going to come up, what's going to happen if we don't take charge now, direct action now to change the perception. It could be what this is about too. This goes away. So anyway, we'll see you Thursday. I'm going to try and do the respiratory herb thing this week. I didn't do it last week. I'm going to try and do that though this week. If I do, it's going to post on Wednesday. So check that out. It'll be on respiratory herbs. Just some things you can do over the winter time to get ready for allergies in the spring. You really start now for that, believe it or not, or if you're working with it herbally. But also as we colds and other things, respiratory things, and I don't know about what kind of an effect it would have on the COVID, but just ways to keep your lungs clear. and all of that. So anyhow, we'll talk about that, I guess, on Wednesday. So have a good day and be good to yourself, be good to one another, and blessed be.